What's up, guys? AverageKiwiGuy here. How y'all doing? Oh man, I just got finished watching the latest episode of Star Wars Rebels. This show is getting just better and better, better and better. The longer that it goes, the better it's getting. So good, so good. And because of that, because of the latest episode, I've wanted to do this for a while. I just wasn't sure about it, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do some reaction videos after each episode. I want to sort of do this little discussion thing. We'll go into it a little bit, going, in behind sort of things. Obviously, some episodes won't have as big of in-depth stuff as what this one and several others have, because obviously they're fillers. But we'll do after each one, and like what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it, stuff like that. Obviously, these will be spoilery, so if you have not seen the episode, go and watch it, then come back, and then you'll know what we're talking about, okay? Then you'll know what we're talking about. But, oh man, obviously this is not at the start of the season. If I was smart, I would have done it at the start of the season, but you know me, guys. You know me. This is what I do. I ham it, I just freaking... I make a mess of everything I do, so... We'll just start from here. We'll start from here. I'll sort of sum up the season, the way this season's felt for me, like throughout through this entire thing, and as it's gone forward. Season 3 for me has been the best season so far, by far. It blows anything that the Clone Wars has done out of the water. Clone Wars was good at what it did. It had a lot of low points, but it had some good bits along the way. This has a lot of high points and very little low points. I'm immensely impressed with what they've done with this series. From what they started with in Season 1, Season 3 blows you away. It blows you away. If you were someone who stopped watching in Season 1 and has wondered if you should get back into watching it, get back into watching it, because it only gets better. It only gets better. I'll tell you that right now. For me, Season 3 has been great with the introduction of Grand Admiral Thrawn. It has given us a great villain to have go at these guys, go at this group of rebels that isn't Tarkin, that isn't Vader, but still has that presence, that that I guess that famous quality behind him. Because Thrawn is quite famous in certain areas of Star Wars nerdom, I guess you'd call it. People know of him, and a lot of people have read, the books that that he was in, and everyone wanted him to be canon. But obviously, when Disney took over, they made all those books non-canon. But they've taken bits from good books, guys, and they've brought them in, and this is one of them. And Thrawn has been a great addition to the cast. It's been fantastic to see how he works. He's literally the way you would imagine him from the books. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I've liked how the cast has grown up a bit. They've moved it ahead in time a little bit, grown Ezra up, and they've even gone away from showing Ezra all the time. There's certain episodes that are staying away from Ezra a bit, and he's not this kid all the time, and it's fantastic. It's really good. He's matured a bit, and you can see this he's in this balancing point in his Jedi career, I guess you could say. He's tipping dark side, light side, dark side, light side. You just don't know where he is. So that's been really good. Obviously, they've brought in Wedge. They had an episode completely about rescuing Wedge, going and getting him. And Harvey comes into it too. So, that they've brought him in, and they sort of went into how they train TIE fighter pilots and stuff. That was a really good episode. They did one about Hera, about her past and and how her homeworld and with Cham and everything, and her mother, and her home, and like what that means to her, and sort of the Twi'lek history and culture a little bit, because with the thing about Admiral Thrawn is that he loves culture and everything. Like, he loves to understand his enemy, and you could see that with this episode. With that episode, it was really, really good. obviously they brought in a lot more stuff with the bringing in stuff from the Clone Wars. They're bringing in stuff from the originals. It's been really, really good. It's been fantastic. Even some Mandalorian stuff, which we'll get into, by the way. But yeah. And then, obviously, with the mid-season, while they were on break, Rogue One came out. And they decided to bring in Saw Gerrera. And with the Ghost of Geonosis episodes. And those episodes were fantastic. If you guys want to, maybe you guys watch Rogue One, and you're not quite sure about Saw and who he is and why he's that way, go watch Ghost of Geonosis. That two-parter, you'll start to understand why he's that way. You know, you see, because when you see him in Clone Wars, he's at the beginning of his rebellion, right? He's not quite broke. He's not as broken down. He hasn't suffered as much, but he does suffer near the end, you know, as much as he has. And then in Rogue One, we see him at the end of the rebellion. So he's broken. He's just not there. He's suspicious of everything. He's a loose cannon. He's just, you know, Bogullet. You know, feed him to the freaking thing, you know, like, break his mind. I don't care. You know, he might be a spy. But in Ghost of Geonosis, we start to see his middle, like, round his middle, maybe on the downward slope. You start to see where he is as a person, and you understand why he's that way. And I think it's fantastic to see that. And obviously you see the buddy relationship with him and Rex. I like that. I like to think Rex at some point goes off with Saw and is one of those guys that helps him out, but maybe not. And obviously you start to see the how important Geonosis was to the, you know, through the Empire and stuff. Like, what Geonosis actually played a part in, and what happened to the Geonosians. So it's very good, very good. But yeah, so obviously we're gonna we'll do this as a reaction for the most current episode. I had to sort of give a bit of a, you know, where I am with this season at the moment. Trials of the Dark Saber was one of my favorite episodes so far. So good. So once again, guys, this is a spoilery discussion. If you have not seen this episode, go and watch it. Go and watch it. Wait for it's on TV, and then come back. You know, do all that sweet stuff. Go and watch it, then come back. Okay? Okay? All right. We're going into it now. If you haven't left, go and watch it, because it's worth watching. All right. So the start of this episode I thought was fantastic. It was amazing. So they literally go into the history of the Darksaber. And up until now, we've had limited amounts. We've only really known that it is wielded by the leader of the Vizsla clan and the leader of the Death Watch. And then obviously Maul steals it to take over the Death Watch later on. And so for this, in this episode, Fenn Rau, who's the Mandalorian that's been helping out the rebels and stuff, literally goes in depth into what the history of the Darksaber is and how it came to be and all the rest of it. Because Kanan's like, I didn't think Mandalorians created lightsabers. You know, they didn't figure out how to do that. He's like, no. Tar Vizsla, who was the very first Mandalorian Jedi. That blew my mind right there. Created it. He created this to suit him. So this is his lightsaber. So his crystal that he was given was a black crystal. That is badass. That was amazing. That would be amazing to see. That was so cool. And this, I think this is going Old Republic stuff. You know, Knights of the Old Republic, around that era, like Revan and all the rest of it. And that type of thing. I like to imagine this Mandalorian Jedi. That would be so cool. So cool. Anyway, so they start going into the history of it, and how once Tar Vizsla died, the Jedi took his lightsaber and said, no, it stays with us. It was a Jedi, so it stays with us. Mandalorians didn't like that. So they went and took it. And the Vizsla clan used it to unite the Mandalorian clans beneath them. And they literally rose up and became Mandalore itself. Like, that's how they became the Mandalorians we all know. And I'm pretty sure that's how the Jedi and the Jedi Mandalorian Wars are started. That's KOTOR shit, guys. That's KOTOR shit. That means Revan and Malik and all that stuff could come into it. Oh, I want that so bad. I want that so, so bad. I just want this mask of Revan to show up. And that'd be so, so good. So, so good. So that, first of all, that stuff blew my mind. That part blew my mind. So then we start going into, like, okay, so Sabine, if Sabine takes this weapon, she could literally do the same thing. She could unite the Mandalorian clans under House Ren, which would be who was under House Vizsla, but Ren could succeed Vizsla and take control and literally create an army of Mandalorians for the rebels. So of course everyone's like, yo, we gotta do this. We need them. We need Mandalorian warriors. We need all those jetpack badasses. We need them. And, you know, they're going through all this stuff. And, like, Hera's like, yeah, you know, get her to do it. Get her to do it. Like, in the most subtle way, you know, not really subtle way possible. And Sabine just doesn't want to do it. She hates it. She doesn't want to do it. And I can kind of understand that, you know, because she doesn't want all the responsibility that goes with it, essentially. And there's also an underlining thing that we learn later on in the episode, but that was fantastic. You know, it was so good seeing this, like, she doesn't want to do it, but the rebels really want her to do it, because, like, yo, we could get a whole army of Mandalorians. We would wipe them out. You know, because apparently they're building up for an attack on, Lothar, I think. So that's pretty cool. So obviously that's going to be like the last few episodes, I'd imagine. So as they start going through this, and I think Sabine grudgingly accepts, and Kanan's like, okay, you got the saber, but people are going to want to take it. You know, the people are going to rise up to take it from you, because, you know, it's leadership, like Maul did with the leader of Vizsla, House Vizsla before her. Alright, so then after that, they go out to this place. They go out to the same place where they meet Bendu in the previous episodes to train. They're like, you know, this is a good place for you to, you know, there's no distractions, all the rest of it, and all that. And he starts teaching her, and he's using training sabers, but it's just sticks, right? It's just sticks. But you would imagine that's how they would kind of teach younglings and all the rest of it. And, you know, they're going through it all, and she's getting frustrated because it's like, I know how to fight. I've done it before. I know how to use knives and all the rest of it. And Kanan's like, no, you need to learn the basics. And Ezra's teaching her the basic forms. In a way, watching that was actually really cool, because you were starting to see actual Jedi training, which is something that we don't see in prequels and really in the Clone Wars. Because Clone Wars is like, when did you ever see Anakin teaching Ahsoka anything? When did you see Obi-Wan teach Anakin anything? It's all just scolding and and verbal lessons. That's it. There's no actual teaching. And you got a little bit of that in the first season of Rebels, a little bit. But this was the first one where you actually saw people going through forums and you going through things. And it was actually really interesting to watch. And I liked that part. I really did. It was something... We finally got to see a Jedi training a Padawan sort of thing. I know Sabine's not a Padawan, but you still got to see it. And she's going through it all, and she's getting frustrated. And then Rao shows up. Finn Rao shows up. And he's like, yo, I got your supplies, all the rest of it, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, Sabine, hey, I got you a little something. And he brings out, and he's got these Mandalorian Bracers. Those were so cool. They have all these awesome gadgets, and they're like, the Mandalorians created these to combat Jedi, you know, so that we could be on the same level as them, going against them in the Mandalorian Wars. So she goes back at Ezra and she starts using all these gadgets and stuff, and she's got like this repulsor sort of blast thing, which is like a force push, and sends Ezra flying, and she's got this electro whip. Oh, that was so cool. It was so awesome to see that stuff. And then Kanan's like, yo, that's all well and good to win one or two battles. That's going to work. But guess what? History lesson. The Jedi won the Mandalorian Wars. It's not going to work against people like Maul and people like Darth Vader and all the rest of it. And to see that was... and then obviously that sets her off and she goes wandering off. And Hera's like going to... thing... Like, you gotta let her train. You gotta let her accept her destiny on all this. You gotta, you know, remember how hard it was for her to trust us. We need to, you know, he's like, oh, but I'll hurt her, you know, I'll hurt her and all the rest of it. It's like, no, her family hurt her a heck of a lot more than any blade can. And you see it also when Ezra goes to find her, and she's like, I can't go back. I can't go back to my family. You know, I'm a traitor. I'm a coward. I ran away from them. I ran away from the Empire. So apparently, Mandalore has completely embraced the Empire. Like, it's a proud thing to be a member of the Empire. And with her going off to help her, to help the Empire, was a big thing for that family, for the Ren family to have. And then when she ran away, that was a huge insult. So that was really cool to understand that and to know that. And of course, Ezra's like, yo, at least you got parents to go back to. I was like, Ezra, that's cold, man. You just dropped the orphan card on her. That's some cold stuff. I was like, how can you argue that? You can't argue anything. It's like, yo, at least you got parents. Okay. But, yeah, so obviously they go through that stuff. And Kanan's like, you know, you're right. You need to take this. Take the saber. And, like, she's sort of... And you start hearing the intricacies of the lightsaber battles. Like, how the two have a pull against each other. And how the lightsabers have weight. And it's not like directing a blade at someone. It's like directing a force of energy at someone. And... You know, she's saying, oh, it's getting lighter. It's like, yes, because it's becoming a part of you. You're starting to understand it more. This is the first time I think we've actually heard what it's like to be in a lightsaber battle. You know? It's the first time to hear what it feels like to have the lightsabers clash against each other. And seeing the lightning when the black and the blue connected was awesome. You know, and... They're going through the forums and they're getting quicker and quicker and quicker. And she's still not accepting it. And Kanan pushes her to finally say what is actually what she wants to say. And she starts going into, my family, like, I realized I was creating weapons for the Empire. And the Empire using these weapons on my people. And I could see how bad that was. So I stood up and I said, no, we can't do this. And when it came down to it, and then I made a stand. And I expected my family to stand behind me. But they didn't. They stood behind the Empire. They didn't stand up. They abandoned her. And she became an outcast. And she had to run. And so she was abandoned by her family, essentially. At the time when you need your family the most, she wasn't. Her family abandoned her. They chose the Empire over her. And that was like, wow. We just found out why Sabine's the way she is. Why she's had trust issues throughout the seasons. You know, why she's the way she is. And to kind of understand the relationship between Mandalore and the Empire too. It's sort of like a form of immense respect from the Empire and the Mandalorians. So when the daughter of House Ren goes up and says, "No, the Empire's wrong. They're hurting people. They're trapping us. They're enslaving our planet." Her family doesn't see it, and Kanan goes, they're trapped in a prison of their own making, and you're gonna have to help them out. And and then she sort of accepts it, and then that's the end of the episode. The entire episode was fantastic, from leading off with finding out the real history of the Darksaber and the Mandalorian Wars and Tar Vizsla and how important the Vizsla clan is. Because the only time we've seen the Vizsla clan is when he's an enemy, literally the leader of the Death Watch. So he's like a terrorist. Yeah, and he seems like an outsider. Like, you don't know how important House Vizsla is to the actual Mandalorian people. House Vizsla was the house, essentially, before Mandalore became a more passive place to live. But when they were in the height of battling every single freaking race they could find, House Vizsla was the leader. Literally, like when you're the Mandalore, I'd say House Vizsla probably had the most Mandalores out of all of them. So that was awesome. That was really cool. The entire episode was fantastic. It, the history of the Darksaber and the history of Sabine really came out, and then seeing the training and the lightsaber and kind of actually seeing a Jedi Master train their pupil was great. I loved that part. And seeing what it's like to be in a lightsaber battle. Really, really cool. It's not just two swords clanging against each other. It has pulls, and it's got energies clashing with each other and all the rest of it. So that was really, really cool. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But like I said, guys, I am a big fan of this show. It's been fantastic. Love it. So we're going to be doing these after pretty much every episode leading up to the grand finale or whenever that is. Looking at the dates, this might be in a couple of weeks. I think it's going on a bit of a break here. Till after February 18th. So that's like Valentine's week. Great. All right. I chose to start this at a good time, huh? But it's all right. This is going to be a regular thing. I can see this show going for a few more seasons yet. So we'll make this a regular thing. We're going to make this a regular thing. All right. So thank you guys for watching. Hope that, maybe that answers some questions that you guys had about the episodes. Maybe it reaffirmed some feelings that you guys had for it. Maybe it showed you something new, or you just think it's a load of crap. Whatever you want to do. This is something that, is a passion of mine. So thank you guys for watching. Hit the subscribe, the like, dislike, comment. It's all down there. Make your, if you guys want to, talk about something, hit the comments. Say something in there. As long as you're not being a douchebag about it, I won't mind. I won't mind. I don't mind being told that I'm wrong. Just do it in a nice way, please. All right, guys. Hope you guys having a good day, good night, wherever in the world. And I'll catch you next time. Peace.